as an Indian democracy, we are all here to support our Prime Minister. It's great that the relationship has been building over the years. For 16 years, I've seen it grow, and it's an amazing stage right now. So we are hoping for greater things to happen for the humanity as well as the community. As everyone together, all the countries coming together is a wonderful thing. It's good to have all the Indians together here.
Yes.
We are all motivated to see all the leaders here in the city of peace, Hiroshima, and it's going to be a good summit, hopefully.
Yes. And perhaps you would be the only one wearing a mask, ma'am, here.
Yeah, I'm used to it.
Yes, tell us about tell us about yourself.
I'm an Indian Forest Service officer and my husband is working here. So I used to shuttle between two countries. So since the Prime Minister is there, as a citizen, as a proud citizen, we thought we will come and be part of the program.
Yes.
It's definitely important that when our PM is here, we are all here to support. Yes.
असल पीएम का साथ प्रभावित तो हो के मैं नेक्स्ट ईयर से इंडिया जा रहा हूँ, इंडिया के लिए कुछ करने के लिए। यहाँ
आप इंडिया शिफ्ट कर रहे हैं?
ये पूरा यहाँ जॉब छोड़ ही दूंगा।
अच्छा।
और वहाँ के लिए इंडिया के लिए कुछ करूँगा। और एक एनजीओ बनाया हूँ, मैं एक एनजीओ बनाया हूँ। और मोदी से इतना प्रभावित तो हो गया, अभी मुझे यहाँ जॉब नहीं करना है, जो करना है इंडिया के लिए करना है।
इंडिया के लिए करना है।
यस, इसलिए मैं एक एनजीओ बनाया हूँ। उसके एनजीओ के माध्यम से उड़ीसा, जैसे भी उड़ीसा बहुत अभी लोअर में है, उसको कैसे भी उठाना है, उसके लिए कुछ ना कुछ करना है।
आपने डिसाइड कर लिया है कि जापान छोड़ करके अपने देश वापस
नेक्स्ट ईयर से नेक्स्ट ईयर से अपना देश ही जाना है।
Okay. Let me get you more voices of people here. There seems to be Excuse me, can we have a word? Yes, tell us about the excitement that is there, visible. Several Indians present. यहाँ पर बहुत सारे भारत के लोग हैं, सब इंतजार कर रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री का।
We are waiting from a long time, but still we are very excited. Excitement is constant.
Excitement is constant.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us, आप वहाँ टोक्यो में थी जब प्रधानमंत्री जी पिछले साल आए थे?
नहीं, तब हिरोशिमा में थे, तो फाइनली अभी हिरोशिमा में प्रधानमंत्री भी हिरोशिमा में आ रहे हैं, तो अब मिलने का मौका मिला है।
तो कल भी आप रहेंगी जहाँ पर गांधी बस्ट अनवेल हो रहा है?
हाँ, most probably. हाँ.
Okay, tell us about yourself. How long have you been here?
I came to Tokyo as a PhD student, so I was in Tokyo for last 5 years, and now I'm in Hiroshima for last 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hiroshima saw that devastation in 1945, and now this crucial summit which is happening almost after 80 years. कितना significant है ये summit यहाँ?
I think it's very important part of this movement. This event is happening in Hiroshima, and because it's about Gandhiji, we are going to represent Gandhiji tomorrow, and because Hiroshima is known for peace, so after that accident happened, nuclear, and after it, this Hiroshima. The Gandhi's, we are like launching the Gandhi's. It's very good moment.
So there are a lot of people who are clicking videos and photos. We can see some movement again. So perhaps let's find a place for ourselves so that we can get the right visuals of the Prime Minister when he arrives. Over to you, Akanksha, in the studio.
And Maria, it could just be in a few minutes from now where the Prime Minister arrives with bated breath. There are a lot of people that are waiting there. Like you've been speaking to all of them. There are banners and posters that are put up there. He's arrived in Hiroshima for the G7 summit. He's even taken to Twitter right after that. He, in his style, like he always does, where he either speaks to the people in the language of the land or tweets about it. This time around, it's that tweet that has come to the fore from the Prime Minister. There is a tweet which is in the Japanese script as well, in which there are pictures of the Prime Minister being received at the airport in Hiroshima, which we saw just a few minutes ago. He says landed in Hiroshima to join the G7 summit proceedings. Will also be having bilateral meetings with various world leaders. And then there are some of those pictures. All of this is in the Japanese script as well, showing that kind of connect that the Prime Minister likes to have with the people of the land that he's in. It's not just the NRIs, it's not just the Indian community that the Prime Minister interacts with. He also makes an effort to speak the language of the land. He's done that in different states here in India as well. He tries to do that and connect with the people on ground in the countries that he travels to. And Japan, this time around, Hiroshima is no different. There is a lot that's on agenda for the Prime Minister, apart from bilaterals and the Quad Summit that takes place tomorrow. There's also the cultural connect, the India-Japan connect, as far as our cultural ties go, as far as the language of peace that both the countries speak of. Even now, even as the world reels under the war that we see in Ukraine, the Russian invasion, at such a time, this particular summit happening in the town of Hiroshima is in itself a significant meeting of these world leaders. And the fact that Mahatma Gandhi's bust is going to be unveiled by the Prime Minister tomorrow is just furthering of that peace message that the Prime Minister takes with him, Maria, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. The interview which he has given to Nikkei Asia, it's quite interesting what he said, that he will be talking about how India's role has been that of a reliable partner in addressing challenges of the Global South, and how he hopes that Global South, starts looking at various challenges going forward, and how India and Japan has had shared values of democracy, freedom, and the rule of law. So I think the point here is of convergences on point of economic and security and strategic interests between the two countries, and as much as India has reiterated its position and unwavering commitment that India will play the role of a mediator if asked to. But one thing is clear, that India, because it has to do business with Russia, Prime Minister Modi himself had communicated to Russian President Vladimir Putin that this is not an era of war. So I think the message that is coming from the Indian Prime Minister is, because of the challenges India has with regards to rising costs of food, fuel and fertilizers, that is the reason why India continues to maintain communication with both the sides, Russia and Ukraine, and that is the reason why it has been doing this tightrope walk, understanding fully that though there has been Western sanctions against Russia, but India and Russia equations are very different from how the West perceives it.
And the Global South, as the Prime Minister calls it, that's something that is spoken of in the Quad meeting as well, something that has irked China on many occasions. That's perhaps the kind of reaction that we would see tomorrow as well, when the four leaders of India, Australia, Japan and the United States meet for the Quad Summit tomorrow. This was supposed to happen in Australia, but that was cancelled, which is why we're seeing it on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Before the G7 sessions begin tomorrow, before the Prime Minister sits down personally for his bilaterals with his counterparts, we are going to be seeing that Quad Summit take place. Right now, the mood that we are seeing in Hiroshima, even though it's pretty late there, it's about 8:30 or 9 p.m. if I'm not mistaken. There are people that are waiting there for a few minutes now, for a couple of hours, in fact, some of them, who are waiting with the tricolour, chanting slogans there as they await the arrival of the Prime Minister to his hotel. It is going to be a busy day for the Prime Minister tomorrow. There is the unveiling of the Gandhi statue, then there is the Quad Summit, and of course the bilaterals that he has lined up with France, with UK, as well as with Japan, which is the host country for the G7 summit. It's been a few minutes, it's been a while, Maria, since the Prime Minister left from the airport after he was greeted by officials of the Japanese government. Anytime now is when we are expecting the Prime Minister to arrive there. Would we expect, or would we see the Prime Minister perhaps wait and have a conversation with the people that are waiting there?
Yes, he usually does. So particularly those children, and I'll ask Rajesh Bhardwaj to, put the spotlight on those children who have gathered here with the Indian flag. They are hoping to get a glimpse of the Prime Minister. We have seen in the past as well the Prime Minister particularly interacting with the children, having a talk with them, asking them about what his views are and what kind of games they play. His interaction with the children, those toddlers that you can see on your television screens, will be interesting to see. There are a lot of women who have gathered here, men, all of them. Poonam, for the last 2.5 hours, I've seen them, patiently waiting for the Prime Minister to come. The Indian diaspora has been very, very active and has always been present whenever the Prime Minister has traveled to various countries across the world. We have seen their presence only increase with every diplomatic visit of the Prime Minister. And this one is particularly important because, this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's fourth G Summit participation, the first one being in 2019, followed by another one in Germany in 2020. But because India is going to be part of those outreach sessions where India, the agenda of which is very similar to what India wants to put on the map, on the agenda into G20. The G20 summit is currently underway in India. India is holding the presidency of G20 and till September is when you will see that very important meeting where all the heads of state will be embarking and coming to New Delhi. So I think the Prime Minister wants to send a message that what will be left unsaid perhaps in G7 will be taken forward by G20, and India's presidency will be playing that role.
And the first point of engagement for the Prime Minister, of course, is that Quad Summit tomorrow. But over the next 6 days, it's a three-country tour that the Prime Minister is on. Japan, Papua New Guinea after that, and Australia. The Quad was initially supposed to happen in Australia, which was called off because President Joe Biden couldn't make it for that. Hence, the Quad Summit was shifted to it being held before the summit here in G7 tomorrow. Early morning engagement for the Prime Minister tomorrow, as far as Indian time is concerned, is going to be that crucial Quad meeting. But there are several multilateral summits that are multilateral meetings that are going to happen as far as the G7 sessions go. The Prime Minister is going to be part of all of those meetings. He is going to be, Maria, meeting President Volodymyr Zelensky as well tomorrow, apart from the bilaterals that he has with his other counterparts. And even today, just before he landed in Hiroshima, he's spoken to the Japanese media, where he spoke of the role that India would play as a peace-bearing nation, and that commitment to unwavering peace in the world is something that India would always stand for.
Yes, that's right. And Poonam, India has been pretty unequivocal as far as its stand on the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine is concerned. India has always maintained that when it is about peace, India stands for peace. Particularly in the context of this ongoing war, there were several questions that were asked. And the Prime Minister did talk about the points and limitations of global governance as well, and said that, the UNSC, in that context, there is a need for these institutions to expand their mindsets. So I think the UN Security Council credibility that he has put a question mark on, and how the decision-making processes in it is very delayed, and how there is a need to ensure that the world's largest democracy finds a kind of representation on a permanent basis, becomes important part of that interview again. So I think when we look at that interview, it has to be seen from that perspective, even as there were questions regarding India's fraught relationship with two of its closest neighbors, which includes China and Pakistan, in which the Prime Minister said that India is fully prepared and committed to protect its sovereignty and dignity. Despite the border standoff with China, India has always been believing in peace and tranquility, despite efforts being made by China to unilaterally shift the status quo. So I think the message that is coming from there were several questions with regards to India-China relationship, India-Pakistan relationship, but I think India's position on United Nations Security Council permanent seat has been reiterated by the Prime Minister, in which questions have been raised about the nature of UNSC, its current relevance, and how it doesn't really represent, the real scene, because the world's largest democracy is not part of it.
Right, the language is something that the Prime Minister has often reiterated as far as the coinage of certain terms is concerned. We saw how the Quad also resorted to talking of the Indo-Pacific, something that China had taken objection to. But the Prime Minister has set the tone really as far as relationship with India's neighbors is concerned. And in the interview to the Japanese Daily, The Prime Minister spoke about Pakistan and how the onus lies on the Pakistani establishment to ensure that they shun terror. Only then can India and Pakistan have normal ties. That is something that India has always maintained. And Maria, that is a message that has been reiterated. We've all seen what's happening in Pakistan, the kind of instability, the violence that we've seen, especially in the recent past, that has had the world on edge. At such a time, India has made it clear that before there is any talk of normalizing ties with Pakistan, they have to ensure that they shun terror.
Yes, that's right, because peace and tranquility in the border areas are essential for normal bilateral ties. Those are the words of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This has been said with regards to China, and the future development of Indo-China relationship can only be based on mutual respect, mutual sensitivity and mutual interest. The Prime Minister has said that when it is about normalizing ties and how it will benefit the wider region and the world. But as far as Pakistan is concerned, I think the important takeaway in that interview is the Prime Minister putting an onus clearly and directly on Pakistan to take necessary steps in this regard. The Prime Minister saying that any talks with Pakistan can happen only if the atmosphere is conducive, free from terrorism and hostilities. So I think the Prime Minister's message to Pakistan again is a big takeaway because you know, we have had that history of partition in 1947 and because of these two countries being in our neighborhood, on one hand you have Pakistan, on the other China. India's position on a number of subjects vis-a-vis the world is very different from other countries, you know, Poonam. And I think India has effectively communicated that to Quad nations in particular, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been doing so with other countries too, trying to communicate that though India stands for peace and tranquility, but it also believes in ensuring that its sovereignty is protected, and that when China becomes an aggressor, India has to ensure that its own land is protected. And that's where the Prime Minister says that any talks with these countries can happen. It is based on mutual respect as far as China is concerned, but when it comes to Pakistan, the challenges are completely different. It is about this country which has to give up perhaps terrorism, which is not to be.
And Maria, the China bit that is a part of this particular interview is also interesting because the Prime Minister has made it clear that peace and tranquility is extremely essential in border areas. Only then can we have normal bilateral ties with China. That is also something that External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said in the past about relations with India and China that have been frosty for the last 2 or 3 years, because we've seen several unilateral attempts from the Chinese side to try and change status quo. But India is not going to take that lying down. That message has been sent out loud and clear. And China would be wary of what's happening over this weekend in Japan, isn't it? Because India is part of the G7 high table, so to say, a special invitee. Also, there is the Quad Summit. The major focus of the Quad in itself is to ensure that we counter China. So China is going to be on the edge this weekend.
Yes, that's right. China would be watching the takeaways from this. Russia and Ukraine would be watching what the world leaders have to say in Hiroshima. But talking specifically in the context of China, I think the Prime Minister has spoken about also the 2020 Galwan clashes where 20 Indian and 4 Chinese soldiers lost their lives. The Prime Minister says that, you know, India is fully prepared and committed to protecting its sovereignty and dignity. And when it is about China, it is only about normal bilateral ties that India is hoping for. And the relationship between the two countries is based on mutual respect, sensitivity and interest. And the Prime Minister saying that normalizing the ties would benefit the entire region greatly. So he has insisted on normalizing ties with China. But when you look at the clear, you know, the messaging that is going one to China, another one to Pakistan, you realize that how India is viewing these two countries and how India is only putting the onus back on Pakistan to take necessary steps with regards to hostilities and terrorism. You can see the movement of the traffic police and the security agencies here in Hiroshima before the arrival of the Prime Minister, who's expected any moment to arrive at this hotel where he will be meeting the Indian diaspora. But before that, that interview which he has given to the newspaper here, certainly setting the tone of what Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be telling the world leaders, what his message would be at the G7 outreach sessions.
Right, and for hours together now, several people from the Indian diaspora, from kids to the elderly, they're all waiting to catch a glimpse of the Prime Minister, hoping to perhaps have a conversation with him. Do stay on with me, Maria. That mood and color is what we're getting from on ground in Hiroshima for our viewers. But this visit of the Prime Minister is extremely significant diplomatically as well, which is why we have Foreign Affairs analyst Rabinder Sachdev with us on the broadcast. And Mr. Sachdev, as far as the Prime Minister's visit is concerned, apart from the optics of the connect that he's had with the diaspora, the unveiling of Mahatma Gandhi's bust there and the messaging that sense, there is extremely important business that the Prime Minister is looking at over the next 2 days. That includes bilaterals with his counterparts, also the meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky, and that is going to be extremely crucial.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. Yes. The meeting with Zelensky will be crucial, will be interesting, and will be important, as are the other meetings that you mentioned. I mean, the other meetings that you mentioned also, you see, the world has changed ever since the COVID and the Russian-Ukraine conflict, right? So in a way, the world, all players, all countries, you mentioned the word optics. It is opto-politics which is now playing out, Optics has become so much, kind of integrated with the geopolitics or vice versa. It is geopolitics and what are the signals coming out from that, which we are seeing. So in today's day and age, if you look at the world, I mean, firstly, it's a meeting of the G7, and of course, there's a bilaterals. But, is India not among the top 8 economies of the world today? Right? And if so, then was there not a time that the G7 was actually a G8? Remember, Russia was part of the G8, and then Russia was disinvited from the G8. So is it now time, or is it not time for India to be a member of the G8? That's one big question, I would think, looking ahead in the coming years. I mean, we are an economy somewhere, 5th, 6th, whatever. You can look at whichever terms, BJP terms or whichever terms, we are definitely amongst the top 8 economies in the world of today. So that's one. Because, the advantage that has, the more stable, deeper, wider political relations we have with the other G7 countries, the more India is seen as an attractive destination for the investors from those countries. Okay, no matter, India is a rising destination and we have investors and business partners coming in from all the countries, but the more India is seen as at the table with deep relations with all the countries, the more the international business will be attracted and will look to come to India. That's one. The advantages of being in the G8, I would say. Second, yes, the bilaterals. Very much the bilaterals are there, but also remember there's a quadrilateral, right? The 4 nations of the Quad meeting. So definitely very, very important meetings coming up over the next couple of days.
Absolutely important meetings for the Prime Minister, not just in Japan, but even when he heads to Australia after that. That is also when there are several key meetings that are going to be held. And Rabinder Sachdev, China is going to be jittery. They're going to be on the edge of their seats over the next few days because the Quad meeting is going to happen tomorrow. Countering China is the big agenda of the Quad. The Prime Minister, India, is at the high table of the G7 nations. So there is, it'll be interesting, in fact, to see what kind of reactions come out from Beijing.
Absolutely, totally. And you just mentioned the Prime Minister's next, steps of this visit. The next visit, in fact, before Australia is Papua New Guinea. Right? That in itself is something for the first time that India is doing. India is hosting a summit with the Pacific Ocean island nations as an annual summit, and Biden was supposed to come to it, right? So it was to be a summit hosted by India along with these nations and Biden there. Okay, Biden is not coming, but still. What this means is that India is taking a serious play in the Indo-Pacific nations.
Absolutely. Indo-Pacific, that term in itself is something that has irked China many a times in the past. Rabinder Sachdev, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Maria Shakil, our political editor, continues to be with us. She's in the midst of all the action there in Hiroshima, where just a few minutes ago we heard chants of Modi that were echoing in that hotel lobby, that the hotel is where the Prime Minister will be residing. And despite the kind of security that you would see for a head of state, the amount of people that have gathered there, even though it's about 9:30 p.m. there, if I'm not mistaken, Maria?
It is 8:54 to be exact, Poonam. But you know, but the excitement among the Indian diaspora is so palpable. You can see that gathering of particularly the small children who would be sleeping over the weekend. Then Saturday, Sunday would be their offs. But Prime Minister in Hiroshima for 36 hours in all, several bilaterals, the Quad Summit, and of course the G7 Summit. He'll be part of. So it's going to be a hectic 36 hours from here. He will be heading to Papua New Guinea, and thereafter he will be in Australia, where there'll be another big event with the diaspora. So I think that diaspora connect is something that I would highlight as we wait for the Prime Minister to arrive here. Poonam, you know, we have seen that this is almost like a consistent part of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's foreign tours. Whenever he has visited any of the foreign countries, he has made that effort to interact with the Indians in that country, the NRIs. The diaspora connect is so clear all the time, in which he interacts with them, tries to get their feedback. That's what it says. You know, it is said that Prime Minister gets his regular feedback about his government, his governance, and how India is being viewed by the world. Because, you know, the overall view is, and I've been, you know, I was at the Quad Summit last year, and now at the G7 Summit here in Hiroshima, you see how there has been a significant shift in which India is being viewed, India is being seen. There's a lot of anticipation around the India growth story. There's a lot of questions that people have on their mind regarding India and how it is ensuring economic security, and how it is really at the high table, as we keep talking about. So India at the high table over the weekend, as we highlight, Poonam, we are looking at these visuals and waiting for the Prime Minister to arrive. Those children now, you can see, and if the camera person could zoom in and show, have been rather very patient for the Prime Minister. He is expected in another 5 to 10 minutes, I suppose, and then a brief interaction with all those who have gathered here, and then he retires for the day.
And we are waiting as much as the diaspora there for that interaction, because those are the kind of scenes that connect the people of two different countries. You may be thousands of kilometers away, but the connect that you have with your roots, with your country, is seen at times like these, which is why we're seeing the kind of attendance that we are seeing there in terms of the people that have gathered there. People of all ages, from children to the elderly. We see everyone there patiently waiting for the Prime Minister to make his way to the hotel, where he will be retiring for the night before he gets to business tomorrow. Do stay on with me, Maria. J.K. Tripathi, former diplomat, also joining us on this broadcast. Thank you so much for speaking with us, sir, here on CNN News 18. There are several key meetings, several things on the agenda for the Prime Minister over the next 36 hours. Very significant ones at that, of course, is the surprise entry of the meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tomorrow.
Hello.
Mr. Tripathi.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, this is an opportunity, a very good opportunity for India, and this is an event which testifies India's power and prowess. And now Prime Minister going to meet, you said Ukrainian President.
Yes.
Prime Minister going to meet Ukrainian President. It assumes added importance, because time and again Zelensky had been requesting India to intervene, to mediate, and Russia also had many times, many occasions, Russia has said that Russians don't have any problem. Putin doesn't have any problem in India mediating, but all said and done, I don't think India will mediate even at this time. Let those powers which are trying to mediate, like China, like France, let them do their work. But India will not mediate, because India will prepare the ground for meeting. But India will not mediate, simply because we do not recognize mediation of third party in any bilateral issues. And you remember that we have already very politely declined the offer made by President Trump to mediate between India and Pakistan on Kashmir issue. And we very politely said then, thank you very much, but we will not accept any mediation from outside. It is a bilateral issue and we will solve it bilaterally. So because of this, we will not mediate, because if we mediate, then it will backfire on us and international community.
Yes, it opens a Pandora's box that we wouldn't want to touch really, J.K. Tripathi. But as far as the Quad Summit is concerned, that is expected to happen tomorrow morning with the 4 leaders of India, US, Japan and Australia. Do you think this is something that will have China jittery?
Well, certainly, because from the very beginning, from the very first day when Quad foreign ministers meeting took place, China said it is nothing, it is the ocean surf. And then later on, when the first meeting took place during the Corona time, then China was very much worried, and China named it Asian Quad. So China is worried because China has been cornered at many fronts, on economic front and Indo-Pacific area region. And it has tussles with the tension with India, border tension. Then Tibet also simmering. Then it has Xinjiang province. It has been criticized time and again.
Yes.
So China is in a corner, in a tight corner, and that is why China will certainly react. Many people had been saying, last time that India never mentions China when it comes to Indo-Pacific. But you see, the best diplomacy is that when you strike without mentioning anything, and it hurts the person who you are going to, or the country you are going to strike. So India has not mentioned China at all, but China immediately reacted. That means it is pinching China. And
yes.
China is going to, react very sharply, you will see.
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see the kind of reaction that comes to the fore from China over this weekend. But Mr. Tripathi, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. We continue to get you the mood on ground in Hiroshima in Japan, where the Prime Minister is just about to reach his hotel, where he is going to be staying for the next 24 hours. The Prime Minister has a lot on his plate for tomorrow, business-wise. But look at the mood that's on ground there in Japan. Over to you, Maria.
That's right. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expected any moment, I would say. And then he would be interacting with the Indian diaspora. A brief hello with each and every one of them, shaking of hands that we often see, while the Indian diaspora will be carrying forward the message that the Prime Minister has been giving of India's position vis-a-vis the global economies and other, because there's a lot of anticipation around India. As you see now, Poonam, whenever you travel, you see that there is a lot of curiosity. There are a lot of questions that are asked about how India is managing its economy, how India is managing because of its growing population, growing demographic, how is it managing various other challenges at hand. So when you look at these images of Indians, talking about the various aspects of India growth story, you realize that how important it has, become when we look at. Let me get you some more voices of Indians. आप कितनी देर से यहाँ पर हैं?
मैं पिछले 4 घंटे से यहाँ पे हूँ, ओसाका से आया हूँ।
हाँ।
और जो लोग भी आए इतने पिछले 4 घंटे से, कोई टोक्यो से आए, कोई 10 घंटे से, जो वेट कर रहे हैं ना, वो सिर्फ मोदी जी के लिए, और वो मोदी जी के लिए वेट ही क्योंकि वो यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री हैं। उन्होंने अपने कर्मों से, अपने राष्ट्रीय भक्ति से और अपने परिश्रम से जो युवाओं को संदेश दिया है, तो वो एक झलक पाने गए कि उनसे जो 3 चीज़ सीखें मिली। मैंने उनसे 3 चीज़ सीखें मिली है: परिश्रम, राष्ट्रीयता और देशभक्ति,
नेशनलिज्म
या नेशनलिज्म, तो उसके कारण मैं यहाँ आया हूँ।
आप जापान कितना साल पहले आए थे?
मैं जापान 20 साल पहले आया और मैं इंडिया में राजस्थान से हूँ और मेरा यहाँ पे स्पाइस का काम है। पूरे जापान के जितने भी इंडियन रेस्टोरेंट हैं उनमें सबको मैं सर्व करता हूँ।
आप स्पाइसेस देते हैं?
स्पाइस देते हैं और स्पाइस की कंपनी बनाने के लिए एक हिस्ट्री बहुत बड़ी।
अच्छा।
क्योंकि मैं प्योर वेजिटेरियन था
जी।
तो यहाँ
so आप जब भी प्रधानमंत्री आते हैं, जिस शहर में जापान के आते हैं, आप वहाँ जाते हैं?
हमेशा जाता हूँ और मैं अपने आपको फोटो भी दिखा सकता हूँ।
हाँ।
कि मैं बहुत क्लोज से काफी बार मिल चुका हूँ।
आप मिल भी चुके हैं प्रधानमंत्री जी से?
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
और आपके पास फोटोज भी है?
हाँ बिल्कुल, फोटोज है, ये देखिए।
हाँ,
मैं आपको बताता हूँ।
हाँ। Poonam, let's because he's scanning through his album to get a picture in which he has interacted with the Prime Minister. So I think he's hoping that perhaps again he will be able to get a glimpse of the Prime Minister and get another photograph in his album. आप zoom in करके इधर से दिखाइए।
Yes, sir.
हाँ। So आप ये last time था?
ये लास्ट टाइम तो मेरी बेटा और मेरे साथ।
हाँ।
ठीक है,
हाँ।
ये देखिए।
ये लास्ट टाइम की तस्वीर है
last
और
time
इस बार भी आप कोशिश करेंगे कि मिल जाए कोई फोटो?
बिल्कुल जरूर मिलेगी।
ठीक है, चलिए।
Only one. There are several other people who are hopeful that not only do they catch the glimpse of the Prime Minister, but also have a conversation with him. Maria, we'll keep coming back to you. But before the Prime Minister arrives at his hotel, slipping into a quick break, we'll be back in just a few minutes.
What they have done, an utter disrespect and dignity to the culture of Bengal. In the issue of movies, Bengal was always representing the art and culture, was always on the forefront. If I ask you, there was only one Indian who has won a lifetime Oscar award. It is Satyajit Ray from Bengal. After 100 years of the world cinema, Time magazine has given a list of 100 movies without any ranking, the top best 100 movies of the world, of which 4 were the Indians and 2 were Bengali, 2 were the Hindis. One was the Pather Panchali, another I was not remembering. And from the land of Satyajit Ray to Dev Kumar Bose to Rishikesh Mukherjee, they who used to become the champion of freedom of expression, they have said it is to be banned. I think on the constitutional, moral and cultural, all the 3 issues, West Bengal government has demolished their claim.
Okay,
Now,
I want to leave I think the second point that Dr. Trivedi made is a valid one. Leave the legalities aside, Dr. Shashi Panja. From the land of Satyajit Ray and Ritvik Ghatak and Mrinal Sen, the idea that the state can ban a film because the content of it is unpalatable to some, I mean, it just beats any logic. It's un-Bengali to start with.
One good thing which has emerged out of this discussion, Mr. Jacobs, is finally BJP wakes up to the fact that Bengal has so much culture and such a good cultural history. Otherwise they are so negative about Bengal. Now look at the way he's eulogizing. I mean, because we are absolutely enthralled by this, that you are keeping news about Satyajit Ray and the rich Bengal history. Having said that, we just have a question to ask you. You questioned the incompetency, everything. Now, we are also amazed how Pradhan Mantri actually, used the Kerala story in Karnataka for, he espoused the cause of Kerala story while doing prachar in elections of Karnataka. Second, what if suppose, Mr. Jacobs, just come. There's so many films all over India which are released. Does all of them get tax-free, that kind of a allowance? No, but certainly 3 states, why did they have to come out, sir, suddenly to make it tax-free? Madhya Pradesh, Assam and UP, why? That means dal mein kuch kala hai. Why did they have to do it? I mean, they could have behaved as if it was any other movie, but to come out and to stick your head out and make it tax-free. Third is, as I said, it was the state's prerogative to decide, and she decided in the best, with an honest intent for the welfare of the people, in the sense that there should not be a reaction from the communities, because there are communities who have who feel that they have been demonized.
Okay,
so what is
Dr.
you need to
Trivedi,
differentiate between fallacy, lies, propaganda. And if you are if he's so happy about movies, why did they behave like that on the BBC documentary on the Modi question?
Yeah, the question.
Why didn't they allow?
Okay, I heard you.
There?
The question that's being asked is,
Welcome back. It's India's moment in Hiroshima in Japan, where the G7 summit is going to take place. The Prime Minister has landed in Japan, but the day of business is going to be tomorrow. Right now, we are awaiting his arrival at his hotel, where there are people that are standing by to just catch a glimpse of him, even though that's all that it is. They've been waiting there patiently for a few hours now, some for beyond 4 hours, waiting for the Prime Minister. They're hopeful that there is a conversation that they could strike with him before he retires for the night, because it is going to be a hectic day for the Prime Minister tomorrow. Several bilateral meetings that are scheduled for tomorrow. There's also the Quad that is scheduled first thing for tomorrow morning. Maria, my colleague and political editor, joining us from on ground there at the Prime Minister's hotel. Maria, is the mood still intact? It's been a few hours since they've been waiting. What's it like now?
So another few minutes and then the Prime Minister arrives here. He is on his way from the airport to the hotel where he will be staying tonight and tomorrow as well. It's going to be a hectic day with his day beginning at 8 a.m. That's when the unveiling of the Gandhi bust will happen, followed by Quad and several bilaterals, and then his participation in 3 outreach sessions, of which India will be a part, in which Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be speaking on subjects which have been very close to him and subjects that India will be taking forward during its presidency of G20 this year. So I think the big takeaway certainly would be in terms of optics. First, the unveiling of the Gandhi bust. Second, his meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine. What is the nature of commitment that India will be giving to Ukraine will be interesting to watch out for. And, Poonam, as TV journalists, we often say we look at the best visual opportunities. So, day after tomorrow is when all the world leaders will be walking inside that Hiroshima Peace Park. I've been there, and the entire atmosphere is very, very somber. The doom that stands there has been that symbol, the living symbol of devastation of 1945. So the heads of state will be interacting with the survivors. They will be listening to their horror stories. And, most of the survivors that you speak to, they are hoping that this message that comes from Prime Minister Kishida's home district, the constituency he represents in the Japanese parliament, manages to send the summit happening here, manages to send the message, of course, of peace, but at the same time, some kind of roadmap for nuclear disarmament. So when we look at, even as we wait for the Prime Minister to arrive, and there's a lot of anticipation around it, the big takeaway certainly would be as to what these countries say with regards to nuclear disarmament. Ukraine has been one of the topics of discussions today. All the world leaders unanimously, the members of G7, said that they would be standing firmly behind Ukraine. They would be going in for more sanctions against Russia, and that in this war, which is continuing, they stand firmly with Ukraine, and they hope that Russia finally realizes that it cannot really win this war, which has been going on for over 450 days.
Right, Maria, there's a lot lined up for the Prime Minister over the next 36 hours. Anticipation there building for the Prime Minister to arrive to his hotel. We'll keep coming back to you even as we await the Prime Minister's arrival. But for now, a quick break.
Who has the prerogative to take a call which would be best for a state.
But ma'am, the court today has very clearly said you have filed, I think, 13 affidavits. The court said 13 people or 13 affidavits cannot decide law and order in a state. It's the job of the state government to ensure that law and order is kept. That's what the court said.
The point is there are 13 people who may have filed their litigations. There will be many more who are waiting to do so, whatever. You see, the point is, if the director says 32,000 girls, and then when he is asked in court, then he says, no, it may not be 32,000 girls, it may be 3 girls.
Okay.
So you see, these are things which, these cause fears. What's wrong? Why did he have to do that? For which the disclaimer which was given, he was told to give, is to add that there is no authentic data to back up the suggestion that the figure of converted people is 32,000 or any other figure. And also he needs to add now that the films represents a fictionalized version of the subject matter.
Okay, so let me ask Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi that.
No.
I think that's a valid point. That's a valid point. The court did say that where did this 32,000 figure come from? If it's not true, if the filmmakers cannot authenticate it or back it up with evidence, then they need to put this disclaimer that this is simply a fictional representation and they have no evidence to show this 32,000 figure. So that is a problem, Sudhanshu Trivedi. That's the sort of thing that most opposition governments have hanged on to and said that, look, you cannot depict unnatural figures. 32,000, no one has claimed 32,000. Dr. Sudhanshu.
I think the act of West Bengal government is a very peculiar and unique in the entire Indian history. For the first time, a chief minister on her own are saying about the inefficiency of its own government. Because all over the country, the movie is running without any disturbance. Even the state from which it belongs, Kerala, it's running. But the West Bengal government saying there is so much intelligence report and input that they will not be able to control the thing. I think law and order is the prime responsibility of the state, and first time officially the chief minister of the state is accepting that we are incompetent, inefficient than any other state government of the country on the meager issue of a movie. Second thing, what they have done an utter disrespect and dignity to the culture of Bengal. In the issue of movies, Bengal was always representing the art and culture was always on the forefront. If I ask you, there was only one Indian who has won a lifetime Oscar award, it is Satyajit Ray from Bengal. After 100 years of the world cinema, Time magazine has given a list of 100 movies without any ranking, the top best 100 movies of the world, of which 4 were the Indians and 2 were Bengali, 2 were the Hindis. One was the Pather Panchali, another I was not remembering. And from the land of Satyajit Ray to Dev Kumar Bose to Rishikesh Mukherjee, they who used to become the champion of freedom of expression, they have said it is to be banned. I think on the constitutional, moral and cultural, all the 3 issues, West Bengal government has demolished their claim.
Okay,
now,
I want to leave I think the second point that Dr. Trivedi made is a valid one. Leave the legalities aside, Dr. Shashi Panja. From the land of Satyajit Ray and Ritwik Ghatak and Mrinal Sen, the idea that the state can ban a film because the content of it is unpalatable to some, I mean, it's just
Welcome back. Prime Minister Modi has embarked on a 6-day international working tour. It's over 3 countries. Japan, Papua New Guinea and Australia are the 3 countries that the Prime Minister is going to be visiting. First off course, is Japan for the G7 summit, where India is a special invitee, on the sidelines of which the Prime Minister is going to be holding several key bilateral meetings as well, and the all-important Quad summit that takes place tomorrow. Leaders of Australia, Japan, the United States and India will sit down and chart a strategy to counter China, to make the Indo-Pacific stronger and to ensure that China's expansionist agenda is kept at bay. All of that is expected over the next 2 days, over the weekend. But for now, the Prime Minister is going to meet several of the community members that have gathered there, that have in fact been waiting there for several hours together to meet with the Prime Minister, to perhaps just catch a glimpse of his before he retires for the night. He left from India this morning. He's landed in Hiroshima in Japan. Just a short while ago is when we got those pictures coming in from the airport, where officials of the Japan government were welcoming the Prime Minister. He is set to reach any time now at his hotel. Maria, my colleague, continues to join us and get us all the live updates and, of course, the mood on ground there as it happens. Over to you, Maria.
So Prime Minister has finally arrived. You can see now that is the Indian flag and the Prime Minister arriving there. His entire cavalcade now moving inside, pulling inside the this hotel where he will be staying. The chants of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Modi, Modi can be heard as well. He will be, stepping out from that vehicle and thereafter beginning his interaction. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi, any moment he will be stepping out of that vehicle, and then we will get a glimpse of the Prime Minister, and the entire diaspora gets to meet the Prime Minister as well. So you can see those visuals of his entire team now waiting for the Prime Minister to step out of his car. Any moment we'll see that now, and thereafter his interaction with the diaspora begins. Let's listen in now to the audio of the chants that are here, can be heard as they wait in anticipation. You can see the Prime Minister there, first interacting with the officials, the Indian officials here in Hiroshima, being welcomed by the Japanese here, and then his interaction with the Indian diaspora will begin. Let's listen in. I'm going to let the audio play as he waves at the people and he begins his interaction. Been to any international country, any foreign land, he makes an effort to interact with the Indian diaspora because he sees this interaction as very, very important part of his visit. The Prime Minister's image and his interaction being captured on our television, on our camera by Rajesh Bhardwaj as well. He has had this India connect. He's trying to ensure that this cultural connect that the Prime Minister, the selfies that people take, there is a woman who has just clicked a selfie with him. He tries and give that moment or time to each and every one of them to ensure that they get that moment with the Prime Minister as they capture that moment and remember this interaction with the Indian Prime Minister, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he meets the Indian diaspora here in Hiroshima. It's going to be a hectic 36 hours, but when you look at these images, you realize that this euphoria is only going to increase in the next few moments as he meets each and every one of them, Poonam. Each and every one of Indian who is present here gets to meet the Prime Minister as he arrives in Hiroshima and begins his interaction with the Indians. I will try and get you some voices of those who have met the Prime Minister already. In fact, those who have been, interacting with the Prime Minister regularly. We have a restaurateur in Amitabh ji. Amitabh ji, प्रधानमंत्री जब भी जापान यहाँ आते हैं तो इस तरह से बहुत इंटरैक्ट करते हैं डायस्पोरा के साथ.
ये तो कुछ नहीं है. इस बार हिरोशिमा था. हिरोशिमा अगर नहीं होता तो यहाँ पे करीब इसका 5-6 गुना ज़्यादा लोग आते, क्योंकि ये काफ़ी दूर पड़ जा रहा है और यहाँ पे इंडियन पॉपुलेशन उतना नहीं है. तो नहीं तो ये तो करिश्मा है मोदी जी का, तब तो काफ़ी लोग आते. लेकिन ठीक है, अभी बहुत है उसके हिसाब से आप देखें तो बहुत बढ़िया. और ये 5वीं बार उनसे मिलने का, स्वागत करने का हमें सौभाग्य मिला है. वी आर वेरी हैप्पी. आपका
ये इस बार 5वीं बार मुलाकात हुआ है?
5वीं बार, जी 5वीं.
इसी तरह से बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे हैं जापान में जो रेगुलरली मिलते रहते हैं.
रेगुलरली मिलते हैं. और कुछ एम्बेसी का भी होता है जो ऐसे भी आते हैं. तो ये काफ़ी दूर था टोक्यो, तो बहुत लोग नहीं आ पाए क्योंकि यहाँ तो ना होटल मिल रहा है ना कुछ मिल रहा है. लेकिन मिला जुला के बहुत बढ़िया। यहाँ भी अभी आप देखिए 150-200 लोग से ज़्यादा हैं यहाँ पे जी।
Indians have managed to speak to the Prime Minister, meet them. आपसे मुलाकात हो गई प्रधानमंत्री की?
हाँ बिल्कुल।
आपने पूरी फैमिली के साथ फोटो भी ले लिया?
नहीं लिया।
हाँ।
ले नहीं पाए।
हाँ।
पर अच्छा लगा।
अच्छा लगा। आप बताइए मैम।
हमने शेक हैंड दिया उनको, प्राइम मिनिस्टर को बहुत अच्छा लगा, पहले बार इतना पास से देख रहे हैं उनको एंड वेरी एक्साइटेड।
आपने देख लिया प्रधानमंत्री को? आपने बताइए आपने भी देखा प्रधानमंत्री को?
Yes, right.
Okay, so you can see this, the excitement that we keep talking about, that euphoria is only building as he interacts with each and every Indian who is present here. And, besides this cultural connect, tomorrow is the day of business, a day of hectic meetings, bilaterals, India communicating to the world what it believes in, India being the voice of the global south, as Prime Minister Modi said in that interview, in which he said that he will be, putting emphatically the message from India, and that what India believes in vis-a-vis its vision of the global south, and how it is crucial that we look at India differently. So while we capture these visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's interaction with the Indian diaspora, it is going to be an important and hectic day tomorrow with G7 summit, and of course more interaction with the Indian diaspora tomorrow morning. So I'll let the audio play again now.
And autographs for the Prime Minister there as he's surrounded by the diaspora. Even as he reaches just about the entrance of his hotel, he's yet to even enter inside and reach the place where he would be eventually retiring for the night. But there are several people that have gathered there. They waited patiently for 3 to 4 hours to just catch a glimpse of the Prime Minister. And amidst chants echoing there of the Prime Minister and of Bharat Mata Ki Jai, we're seeing several people there greeting the Prime Minister, waiting to perhaps get a selfie with him like we see on our screens now. Maria, these are the scenes that we are seeing coming in from the Prime Minister's hotel, even as he's trying to retire for the night, because he has a hectic schedule ahead of him over the next 2 days as far as multilateral and bilateral meetings are concerned.
Please go ahead. You sure? Yeah, you're waiting.
Yes, so there are a lot of people who have actually managed to get a selfie. You got a selfie?
I got a selfie. He shook my hand, which was exciting. He's really real. This is my first time seeing him. I am kind of speechless. My heart rate is through the roof right now. Yeah, man, it's exciting to see.
So you got a selfie and the Prime Minister shook your hand?
Yeah, he did. You better believe it, he did.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay, who else? You got a picture?
Yes, I got a picture. I got also a handshake, and very warmly he listened to me. It was such a proud moment for me.
What did you tell the Prime Minister?
I said he makes us proud, and we all welcome him from our heart. And he has made India the Vishwa Guru, and we are very proud of him.
Okay, so that was your message to the Prime Minister.
Yes, and he was very happy. And I'm from Rajasthan, living in Japan from last 30 years. And I told him that we are waiting for him, making the government in Rajasthan next. And he said, we'll be coming soon.
So he told you that there'll be a government in Rajasthan. Okay.
What a moment of pride this moment is. This moment is certainly so exhilarating. Whenever Modi ji comes to Japan, we have a very small community living in Indian community living in Japan, and this moment is such a great proud moment for us. Everyone is looking forward for this time.
अरे हमने उनके साथ गुजराती में मतलब केम छो, so he said गुजराती में केम छो मजामा छो, and he also responded केम छो भला मजामा छो. It typical Gujarati. Oh my God! And to see him such a bright face in just in front of me.
Really a proud moment.
Proud.
You're seeing him for the first time?
Yes. This time, Modi ji for the first interaction. Yes. It was proud.
And it's really the proud moment to check in with him.
Okay. How long have you been staying here in Japan?
In Japan for 32 years.
32. You have never been part of any interaction with the Prime Minister?
No, not with the Prime Minister. Any other, like some other ministers, yes. But yeah, sometimes last time we missed because we were not here. But this time we made it.
First time we are meeting the Prime Minister. Yeah.
Okay, let me get you more voices. Let me get you more voices. You can see the Prime Minister has now entered the hotel. But the level of excitement among the diaspora can be particularly seen. Let me try and get you some more voices. Here are people who are. Did you get a selfie?
Yeah, somehow.
So he managed to get a selfie. Why don't you show it to us?
Yeah, my face, Modi ji's face, somehow. I got some selfie.
You got some selfie?
Yes. I'm so happy. I'm Indian, so I get the first citizen, or maybe the Prime Minister, so I'm so happy. And I get in Hiroshima, in Japan. Very, very happy.
Okay. What about you?
I'm very happy. I got a chance to meet him, talk to him, and he was very patient. He spoke to me, so I really feel happy now.
So what did you tell him when you said that you spoke to him?
My father is a very big fan of Modi sir, so I told him that my father would be very happy today that I'm talking to you. So he asked me, what's your father's name? And he blessed me, so I am very happy now, so that I could tell him that.
Okay, you're from which state in India?
I'm from Maharashtra, ma'am. I'm Pune, Maharashtra.
And would you tell your father, if he is watching this broadcast, that you met Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
Papa, I met Modi sir and I told you that you're a big fan of him. So.
Okay. Let's try and speak to more people who have gathered here to get you a sense. Okay, tell me, so she has been waiting patiently for several hours.
Yeah, she's just 4 years and she was watching a lot of videos of Modi ji yesterday and she really seems to be excited to see him as well. So yeah, as you can see, she's not sleepy at all. So she looks very much satisfied now.
Okay. So you saw the Prime Minister?
Yeah.
Did he tell you anything? Did he say anything to you?
He just said high five. He did high five. But he talked to his daddy, her daddy.
Where is he?
Yeah,
is he around?
Daddy is right over there. Okay. Yeah, so daddy has a really nice memory with Modi ji. He was in 2006 when he was studying in Nirma. He got his certificate from Modi ji when he was CM at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what he showed his picture and a bit of nostalgic feeling to, I think, Modi ji as well.
Okay. We'll try and get you more voices. Ma'am, you were waiting here and with your family, the entire family has been waiting here. You finally got to meet the Prime Minister?
Yes. Very close to him. We are very excited. So close to Narendra Modi. It's a proud moment for us.
You're from which part of India?
Hyderabad.
You're from Hyderabad. Okay.
And we are living in Hiroshima since 10 years. And we were very excited that he is coming to Hiroshima. And
did you get to speak to him?
Yes.
What did you tell him?
I said I was very happy and I was very excited to meet him.
So what did he tell you?
He was telling that he was also happy to meet us.
Okay. So, a lot of excitement. Perhaps the euphoria is going to continue for the next few minutes. The Prime Minister has retired for the day. It's going to be a hectic day for him as he arrives here in Hiroshima.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The new parliament is again surrounded by controversy. The government recently announced that the new parliament building, which is part of the government's ambitious Central Vista project, will be inaugurated on May 28th. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be the chief guest for the event. Soon after, Congress General Secretary Jairam Ramesh took a jibe at the BJP and called the new parliament as Prime Minister Modi's personal vanity project. The political war escalated quickly. The BJP has reminded the Congress that during the UPA rule, Congress and Jairam Ramesh himself backed a new parliament project. Since the announcement of the Central Vista project, in fact, the new parliament building has been at the center of many such barbs. In 2020, the opposition slammed the government after they decided to continue the Central Vista project during COVID-19 pandemic. A row had also erupted after PM Modi unveiled the national emblem on top the new building. The opposition claimed that the lions in the national emblem were looking uncharacteristically angry. Earlier this year, Jairam Ramesh called the parliament a colossal waste of money, although he was the one who during UPA rule backed the idea of a new bill. So is the politics around the new parliament needless and, dare I say, even mindless? We'll take those questions to our guests in just a bit. But first up, a bit about the new parliament. It's going to be state-of-the-art facility, a total area of 64,000 plus square meters, a seating capacity of over 1,200 parliamentarians, and that's really the most important aspect. There's a peacock theme for the Lok Sabha, which will now be able to house 888 MPs. On the other hand, there is a lotus theme for the Rajya Sabha, which will be able to seat 384 MPs. And the entire cost of the project is under 1,000 crore rupees. Most experts agree a new, bigger parliament was needed. The Congress itself has been in the favor of it during the UPA tenure. For some reason, the Congress now attacks this project and has done so numerous times. Like I mentioned, they've called this new parliament Prime Minister's personal vanity project. The BJP says the parliament project is for the entire country and is for national importance. The Congress has also attacked the current government, saying that there's no use of this new parliament when the opposition's mics are going to be switched off. The BJP says the new parliament was in place during even the UPA rule. So it's not something that has come up after they came to power. Congress has also said that we don't need this new building if it doesn't function. In other words, if democracy doesn't function inside parliament. But BJP has attacked the Congress leaders, calling them hypocrites and U-turn masters. Politics aside, the new parliament building is a new start for a new India. And it was much needed. The old parliament building is over 100 years old and had many structural and space issues. Delhi, meantime, has become more earthquake prone, so a new structure was needed. Currently, there isn't good amount of seating available even for the current number of MPs. And with delimitation exercise planned in 2026, the number of MPs is anyways going to increase. On top of that, the Central Hall currently doesn't have enough seats for MPs of both houses, while the new parliament will be easily able to host joint sessions. The big debate that's coming up, Central Vista project, is it needless politicking over India's new parliament? We'll take that to our guests in just a bit.
Parliament is not only of bricks and cements and steel. It is about the voices of people who are voiceless also. When the mics of opposition members are switched off, what is going to be the biggest thing in the new parliament? Will the mics be on in the new parliament? That's the question we have to ask.
देखिए, जयराम रमेश जी जो खुद हिपोक्रेसी